Everybody knows why the Dreamcast died a premature death. Actually, not everyone, since people still argue it to this day. But it did have its bangers though, like my favorite dang simulator. See man,
I'd be swimming in your mama's.
I don't think any other console embodies Y2K era gaming quite like the Dreamcast does. Its games had gorgeous colors, zany aesthetics, the graphical detail of a transitional period, and some even make me think, do games really need to look better than this? Well, some do, but trust me when I say that some of these really are among the most quirky and inspired games I've ever experienced. This was during a time when developers and publishers, and Sega in particular, were willing to get experimental with their titles. The results were games ahead of their time, with varied degrees of execution. You also gotta love the vibes and design philosophy that bled in from the arcades, despite this being during their decline, which Sega themselves contributed to, cause now, they were able to deliver that same experience from the comfort of your own living room. It's also why the Dreamcast is known for its impressive library of fine game ports, and even a superior one in the case of its crown jewel,
Soul Calibur.
For the most part, these were arcade perfect, or pretty damn near. It definitely helped that many of them came from Sega's own NAOMI arcade board, which was identical to the Dreamcast, aside from a few slight upgrades. All but one of the NAOMI's Capcom fighters were directed by Hideaki Itsuno, and you know who he is. Devil May Cry 2-5, The Dragon's Dogmas, Quiz and Dragons and shit. Well, my favorite game that overlaps with all of these things I mentioned thus far is Project Justice, the true sequel to 1997's rival schools, United by Fate. Out of all the dead Capcom fighting game franchises, this is the one that piques my interest the most. Cause where else can you see a grown ass man uppercut the shit out of his students on the school's rooftop? Everything is just so over the top and exaggerated. The game never takes itself seriously, aside from the few moments where it really counts. And that's a good thing in my opinion. Goofy games with serious moments tend to be the most memorable to me. I guess what I'm trying to say is, this game is anime as fuck, but I say that endearingly. Going hand in hand with the gameplay, the main theme of Rival Schools' narrative is that of teamwork and friendship. And hey, that's always a message I can get behind. People need each other, you feel? The story itself is full of wacky shenanigans, usually revolving around some social reject trying to take over the world. And they tend to think that the best way to go about that is by overthrowing their school's hierarchy first, on some Captain Underpants shit. Also, for some reason this game really likes brainwashing. Like you would think the CIA are involved or something. Half the time it's just how they get shit to happen. Oh, and kidnappings. Kids out here getting snatched up. People getting crucified. That's how you know this game is Japanese. But don't worry, like I said, this game is lighthearted and encouraging. Even your teammates will comment on how sick that combo you just did was. There's a lot of charm to go around. I'm a sucker for colorful stages, and a few of these locations really scratched that itch for me. A very good Project Justice player by the name of Core Hina made the neat observation that the background of Taiyo High stage is basically just the Windows XP background. And if seeing that in your Dreamcast game doesn't embody the early 2000s, I don't know what does. Also, I really like the character models in this game and how their faces literally look drawn on, like someone just did with a marker. Peak NAOMI Dreamcast art direction. Which leads me to the real reason why the series hasn't been forgotten, despite being dormant for over 2 decades. Its memorable cast. Largely thanks to the brilliant character designs by Capcom artist Edayan. They got the stereotypes you would see at school covered, from the jocks to the nerds, to the thugs, to the popular girls, and whatever is in between. All of that shines in the gameplay of course. The kids from the athletic school use their acrobatics and sports equipment to fight, with the moves resembling actual plays and maneuvers from their respective sports. The ones from the gang-affiliated school like to fight dirty, and are probably the ones most eager to jump you since they got some brutal ass assists. The school nurse is a semi-grappler because of her expertise in giving soothe, muscle healing massages. The preppy girl plays lethal notes, and combines her violin bow with the teachings of her fencing class. This dude swims, so on and so forth. It's things like these and their individual quirks that make this entire roster just ooze personality. Almost everyone here has a crazy amount of backstory and weirdly specific lore, notably for being fine game characters that only appeared in like 2 installments. Rival schools and Project Justice not only have visual novel story modes packed with dialogue and branching routes, but the Japanese version of Rival Schools and its updated release have full-blown school life social simulator featuring the cast. You could befriend and accompany them across many scenarios and events spanning throughout the school year, pertaining to the school you enrolled your custom character into, of course. It's a whole rabbit hole I got into a few years ago, and I'm just saying. The amount of characterization that goes on in this series can even make the cast of Street Fighter feel like strangers in comparison. I'm sorry Ryu, but me and Batsu were just geeking out over his love of ninjas and Strider the other day after school, and I don't even know who you really are. Also, Akira really likes Mega Man. So yeah, before I get into the gameplay, I'm going to briefly go over each school and their individual fighters, and maybe recap some events from the first game along the way. Cause they're each special in their own ways, and I'll probably never get to talk about them again. It's gonna be quite a bit, but if you're not here hearing me yap, then what are you even here for? Unfortunately, no Sakura Kasugano in this game, but judging by her Alpha 3 win quote, I guess she was having more fun eating custom combos anyways. Let's begin with Taiyo High, a typical Japanese high school, but one that's a bit more lax, promoting individuality amongst its students, and it's here where our main trio are enrolled in. Batsu is the poster boy and series protagonist. That's right, this is Batsu's world. We all just go to school with him. Aside from hurling insults and shouting his battle cry every few seconds, he's actually pretty chill. The type of guy you can depend on, and one who's always looking out for his friends. And he might not be able to read, but you bet your ass he could body slam somebody. If you know Batsu from one of his few crossover appearances, you might be disappointed to hear that his dive kick is actually ass in this game, although he's still a capable all-rounder. In the first game, he transfers to Taiyo, his mother's workplace, in order to investigate her disappearance. This is where he meets his buddies, well, eventually warmed up to be buddies, Hinata and Kyosuke, who tag along to uncover the truth behind the kidnappings that have been plaguing the local school grounds. Eventually, they discover it to be the doing of Justice High, a super elite academy, and the school's principal, none other than Batsu's own deadbeat father, Raizo, who defected from a ninja assassin clan many years ago. After they manage to defeat him with the power of friendship, like literally, you need to finish with a team-up attack in order to get the good ending, they suddenly hear a man laughing amongst the shadows of the library. A man who steps out and reveals that he's been pulling strings this entire time, and that Raizo is but a mere puppet in the scheme, being a brainwashed victim as well. But the biggest revelation of all is that one of Batsu's own allies is a conspirator. Hinata is energetic, bubbly, enthusiastic. Think your typical anime schoolgirl Genki girl type shit. Her hobbies include karaoke, eating sweets, and pulling off some sick airtime bra. She might remind you a bit of Sakura. Well, this is her homegirl. They grew up together along with Natsu, who you'll later be acquainted with. Gameplay wise, her fiery tattoos might remind you of a certain someone. Well, that's cause she learned the technique from his online class, although the flames themselves came from natural talent. She even had a Shoryuken in the first game. My favorite move of hers is this goofy air projectile where she kicks off her shoes, and seemingly has an infinite supply of them. I've said it once and I'll say it again, she has the coolest kicks out of any Capcom character in my opinion. Probably tied with Maki's Air Jordan 1s, although let's not forget Ibuki's Air Max 95s. Even her boyfriend has some Cortezes. God damn. Man, all these kids got that shit on. I hadn't even realized until recently. She's the only member of the Taiyo trio to not make a playable appearance in another versus fighter. So how about we complete the trifecta by having her in the next Marvel vs. Capcom? We all know it's only a matter of time, right? Kyosuke is head of the school's moral committee, which basically means if he catches you skipping class, he's gonna flash kick the shit out of you. My boy Kyosuke. He's chill, he's smart, he keeps a fresh appearance, and he even plays the sax. I mean, you can't get any smoother than that. He also shares a voice actor with another troubled, stoic, electric-infused young man. Even Batsu could tell. Kyosuke has one of the flashiest movesets in the entire roster, and if you're familiar with him in CVS2, you'll be glad to hear that he doesn't suck ass in this game. Quite the contrary. Something to know is that the only significant change between the US Dreamcast release of Project Justice and all other versions is the lack of the infamous Kyosuke airwalk glitch. Check it, you just jump up and do some bullshit I forgot. But you can still be thrown out of it, and this glitch has been banned in all tournaments. Still didn't stop this dude on 5K from hitting me with it though. We were just fooling around though. Going back to the events of the first game, the man who stepped out of the showers and revealed himself to be the true mastermind behind everything was Kyosuke's own twin brother, Hyo. It's here we learn that Kyosuke was in fact the one who kidnapped Batsu's mother, acting under his siblings' orders. Hyo did this because he was determined to continue his father's mission to world domination, and his father was actually Araizo's brother, a ruthless assassin of the ninja clan from which they both came from. So yeah, that makes Batsu and Kyosuke cousins. However, through his journey with Batsu and Hinata and the bonds they form, Kyosuke has a genuine change of heart, realizing that what he and his brother are doing is kinda fucked up. And so he seeks to redeem himself by taking down his kin. He succeeds, and with a little heart to heart, even manages to show Hyo the true meaning of friendship. Everything in Naharu City goes back to normal. Batsu, his mother, and his father all reconcile. Everyone is safe and sound. And yeah, that dude kidnapped my entire family and tried to take over the world last week, but he's chill now. Don't worry about it. The end. But wait, there's 2 more Taiyo students that joined the fray. Chairperson. Like literally just chairperson. That's her only given name. She made her first appearance in Hinata's ending in rival schools, and she acted as a guide in the school life mode. Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that. If you ask her about her name, she insists you don't worry about it, and no one else seems to question it. I guess she first obtained that position and then just decided to stick to the bit or something. It kinda reminds me of something from when I was in elementary. This dude named Carter told everyone that he got hit by a car a few years prior, so his dad changed his government name to Carter. And all I thought at the time was, damn, that's fucking sick. But anyways, you know how I said she made her first appearance in Hinata's ending? That's because after the events of rival schools, everyone in Taiyo High was inspired by Hinata to take up martial arts, so they could protect their school just as she did. That includes chairperson, but unfortunately, the result is her becoming the worst character in the game. What went wrong? Well, half her moveset is just basic karate stuff, but the other half is taken from the Saikyo style. Well, no wonder. She was scammed by Dan Hibiki's bum ass through a shady mailed VHS course. Poor reach, pathetic damage, even her Shoryuken doesn't knock down, and it's launch punishable on hit. I don't mean to hate though. I mean, clearly she's not a fighter. You can see her practically dying trying to catch her breath at the end of a round, and her absurdly long crouching throw is hilarious, as she's using every ounce of her strength to lift the opponent off their feet. So basically a character you choose if you want to handicap yourself or flex on someone. Ideally you never pick her in tournament, but one of this game's tournament organizers, Cherji Tables, still manages to kick ass with her. Ran Hibiki is a member of the school's newspaper club, and hey, wait a minute. Doesn't that name sound awfully similar to someone I brought up just a moment ago? Well, as far as we know, Dan only has one sister named Yuriko, so there's no apparent relation, but whatever. Equipped with her trusty camera in her right hand and the paper fan in the left, she's always looking for a scoop, even if it means putting herself in danger. Or an interview. She's about that cold hard journalism. I feel like utilizing her camera flash as a projectile is one of the most creative ideas to come from rival schools, and I definitely find her to be one of the funnest characters to play. Having to manually reload the film after 6 shots to mimic the chamber of a 6-shooter is pretty cool, and whacking people with her fan will never not be satisfying. Also, you can combo off of her assist. I can't tell you exactly why, but she really looks like an Ace Attorney character to me. Seijyun High is a traditional all-girls school, and it's attended by the most fan-favorite character in the series. If there's anyone you're familiar with from rival schools, it's probably Akira. Y'all remember when they added her as DLC to Street Fighter V? That was really cool of them. Her story mode even had the same text boxes as the school life mode, and her alternate costumes were pulled from there. I'm definitely no Street Fighter guru, but I really like how they adapted her gameplay and the mechanics of her series. Aside from her skull ki blast, the most defining aspect of her fighting is her use of Baji Xuan, a style of kung fu used by many fighting game characters over the years. Most famously, the OG Akira. And of course, her biker getup is just peak character design. It's funny cause when she's geared up, she has like the most badass design out of any Capcom fighter. But then she takes off the helmet and she looks like she wouldn't be able to ask for ketchup packets without breaking down. Just look at that cow lick. During the events of the first game, she dons her brother's helmet to go undercover as a boy in the all-male school which he attends, called Gedo High. You'll learn more about that school and her brother in just a minute. All you gotta know is that he was a well-respected gang leader who went missing, and so she recruits his two lackeys to investigate. Eventually, they find and rescue her brother from the clutches of Justice High, and the audience is then treated to a Metroid moment, where everyone goes, "Holy shit, that's a woman?" She apologizes for deceiving Edge and Gon, but they don't care, cause they're chill like that. Too bad though, cause the faculty finds out and she gets transferred to an all-girls school in the sequel. By the way, she didn't cop that sweet biker outfit just to pull off this stunt. She really loves her motorcycles, and she's actually like a home mechanic and shit thanks to her neighbor. It's crazy. Re-into it. Yurika is Akira's best friend, being the only person to approach her when she transferred to Seijyun. The first thing you'll notice about her is the huge ass curls on her drill hair. Like I deadass thought she was one of those Star Wars aliens or something. She's elegant, graceful, speaks the occasional French, possesses white woman normals. You know the type. Except, she's really sweet and kind. Even the thugs talk proper around her. She has a special talent of being able to master just about any instrument. So pair that with her ballet skills and her fencing abilities, and it makes for a pretty fun and unique fighting style. Her assist is pretty cute. I always enjoy watching whoever her current partner is play the role of an orchestra conductor. Fun fact, and I'm only gonna bring this up once, I used to play the violin myself, back when I was in my school's mariachi band. Yeah, I'm not kidding bruh, that's how fucking Mexican I am. But now I play the bass guitar though, like a true dweeb. But yeah, other than that, we don't know much about her. At least for now. Zaki completes this trio. She used to be the leader of a gang called the 5,000 Ladies, but her family didn't approve of that and forcibly enrolled her into Seijyun in an effort to rehabilitate her or whatever. Still, she has the ability to stir up a posse when the time calls for it. I know what you're thinking right now. That's a cool design, those are some cool threads, and what the hell is that in the watermark on the bottom right corner of my videos? Good observation. All those chains she has aren't just for accessory, as she uses them to zone with these axle low ass buns she can charge up. Zaki is a loner, and she just straight up doesn't like people, but as we see throughout the story, she can open up once you gain her respect. Gedo High is an all-boys school located in the industrial area, and it's riddled with troublemakers who are sent here from other schools. Almost like a jailhouse, all the kids here have no future. Daigo is Akira's older brother and the undisputed gang leader of Gedo High. He's like an older brother to all the students, showing them what truly makes a real man and teaching them to abandon the ways of delinquency. He has a strong code of honor and doesn't believe in petty crime or conflict without purpose. Yakuza type shit. Although some of his moves are disrespectful, like this throw where he shakes and tosses you like a rag doll, and this one where he kicks you in the chest like he's got some goddamn Timbs on. He does have a soft and overprotective side, since he was the breadwinner and man of the house after his and Akira's parents passed away. It's pretty much him that keeps all the Gedo students in check, and as seen in the first game, all hell breaks loose in his absence. He took it upon himself to investigate the school kidnappings, and even went as far as to storm into Justice High to beat the brakes off of Hyo, all by himself. But Hyo gets a jump on him, and you already know what happens next. After being saved by Akira and them, everyone was just glad to have their big bro back. But unbeknownst to them, Daigo felt deeply ashamed of what transpired, and decided to set out on a personal journey to ensure such a thing would never happen again. Now, he's back, but everyone has noticed that he's not quite the same as he was before he left. One of his goons is named Edge. You can't make this shit up. While Daigo is upstanding and all that, Edge is a devious little bastard who's the type to shank you during lunch if you don't slide over your carrot cake, much to Daigo's disapproval. True to his name, he fights using his massive collection of army knives, which make up his many projectiles, and he can even throw them from his back-turned stance. I just love how much he looks like the stereotypical Japanese delinquent, with his dyed blonde, punk-ass brush head, sticking his tongue out with these twisted facial expressions. And just look at this Gwen pose. It's ridiculous. He's laughing like Spawn in Soul Calibur 2. Okay, maybe I'm being too harsh on him. Clearly he values loyalty, since we saw him tag along with Akira to rescue Daigo from captivity. The other guy who tagged along is Gon. Now one thing about my man Gon, he's always snacking on a goddamn rice ball. The same way Edge can somehow pull out hundreds of knives from a literal pocket dimension, Gon will stay equipped with enough rice balls to feed a small nation. Don't be fooled by his size though. All that mass is made of pure muscle, as he's a competent sumo wrestler and the game's true grappler. And I'm just trying to come up with more shit to say. He was inspired by Akira to take up reading, but man, fuck reading. Gorin High is the athletic school I was talking about earlier. They recruit students around the nation who show exceptional sporting ability. They're so serious about it. Their school has a huge ass stadium that's more like a military base. Natsu is captain of the girls volleyball team. Her peers look up to her because of her uplifting attitude, and she's considered a prime role model by the juniors she tutors. No matter what it is, you can always count on her to give it her all. And clearly you can tell, cause her fingers are always wrapped in bandages. Ouch. I think Natsu is one of the most popular characters, and I can see why. I like how they incorporated volleyball into her moveset. From the different serves and spikes, to just smacking the ball so hard it turns into a goddamn meteor. But if we're talking about functionality, she fittingly has one of the best projectiles in the game. It can be angled, reach as far, ricochets, and get some pretty nice space control. She's pretty damn tall, which makes sense for a star volleyball player, but it's also a deliberate design choice, and that her mutual crush is a 5'4" dude. Oh, excuse me, 162 centimeters. Shoma is our certified slugger. He's a bit brash and short-tempered, but cares deeply for his loved ones. As during the events of RS, the entire reason he gets involved is to find out who broke his brother's arm and put him in the hospital. He's like those anime dudes who carry around a sword the same size as them, except in this case it's a huge baseball bat. It doesn't need to be said how cool a baseball player in the fighting game is, and I don't even like baseball. That shit is boring. It's a shame his projectile isn't too great. It has really long startup and recovery, so it's very easy to punish. But to be fair, he never did claim to be a pitcher. That's more so his brother's forte. He does have the best overhead in the game though, so I guess that makes up for it. He's a bit self-conscious about his height. I don't know why since he's still a growing boy, but it's something that Natsu will occasionally tease him about. This constant arguing and bickering between them is nothing unusual. It's like that trope where two people are always mean to each other, but really they have feelings for each other. And it's obvious to everyone around them, yet neither wants to be the first to admit. At a certain point, you gotta wonder if they just like the drama. But I'm not gonna get up in their business like that. The poor soul who always has to break up these altercations is their dear friend Roberto. Roberto is a chill one in this trio, always keeping the cool head, and shrugging at like 50% of the shit you tell him. There's only one thing he truly cares about, and that's going pro in football. However, he ends up seriously injuring his arm during the assault on Justice High, crushing his dreams of playing as a goalkeeper. Lucky for him, a scout offers the position of forward instead, which he's more than happy to accept. If you check out competitive Project Justice, you'll see Roberto quite a bit, and there's one knowledge check you should know about if you intend to play this game. If you see him end a combo with this command grab, don't let yourself get reset. Make sure you air tech and block after he launches you with a kick, otherwise this will happen. The Roberto player can actually make it untechable if they time it right, but these are very easy to drop, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. As with Taiyo High, the Gorin team also gains two newcomers, one from the update for rival schools, and one from this game. Nagare is special in that he's the only university student on the roster, not hailing from Gorin High, but instead its newly established university branch. He's a longtime friend of Shoma's brother, and something of an older brother to Shoma himself. He doesn't really talk, and if he does, he talks like a sloth, often pausing between phrases, with that ... shit. He doesn't even say anything during the match intro. They announce his name for him like it's a swim meet. I know the entire appeal of this game is how the characters are all exaggerated in the most comical of ways, but this guy left me flabbergasted. He's who I would choose to represent why Rival Schools is in its own lane when it comes to their fighters. He has some nutty combos too. And the most hilarious team-up attack in the game. Momo is, well, I can't really tell you much, since Project Justice is not only where us, the audience, are introduced to her, but also the cast themselves, even the Gorin kids. Unlike the other characters, I don't have any backstory to pull from, whether that be from supplementary material or the previous game. So all I'm gonna say is, she causes Shoma and Natsu's relationship to become even more complicated than it already is. And she has an interesting idol animation. I'm sure you could tell by now that she's a tennis representative, carrying around a racket that's reinforced by bolts, and keeping tennis balls strapped to her shoulder as if they were grenades. Unlike anyone else, she can easily combo into a full-on party-up attack. That may sound broken and unfair, but it's balanced out by her pathetically short limbs. Having shorter than average reach is undesirable when it comes to pretty much any fighting game, I think. But man, you can really feel it with this game's neutral. Pacific High is a fancy school of foreigners, being located in a harbor town near a US military base, and it's attended by the children of many high-profile figures. Bowman is our resident Mishima. Nah, for real, look at this. He has a Wind God Fist, a Demon's Paw, and a Wave Dash. Seriously though, he's a devout Christian and boxer attending Pacific High on a scholarship, and a lot of his attacks are cross-themed in the most blatant ways. Whether that be transforming into a spinning cross rocket thingy, or blessing you with a few meaty hooks. That's right, you miss a single day of his Sunday service, and he's gonna give your family a reason to attend church. I kid. He's actually a pacifist with a strong dislike for violence, and will only put up a fight to protect those around him. That's why you can see him praying for forgiveness after every battle. His combo game is pretty ass though, so many players opt to perform resets and other tech to maximize his value. And Blanca in Fortnite has an alternate style called Delgado, in which he wears a suit inspired by Bowman's uniform. So yeah, we have Rival Schools representation in Fortnite, just so you know. Bowman only got involved with the events of Rival Schools in support of his two friends and fellow Pacific alumni, them being Roy! Of course, every Japanese fighting game protagonist needs a blonde American to be their rival, and that's what Roy is to Batsu. But Roy is a real hater. You see, his grandpa lost his leg in World War II, and this led Roy to have a strong disdain towards Japan and its people, so much that he spouts straight xenophobia in the first game. You may think, what the hell is a man who hates Japan doing in Japan? Well, his father, a high-ranking police detective, sent him to investigate the kidnappings, as silly as that sounds. Thankfully, this turn of events led him to think twice, befriending Batsu, and gaining newfound respect for Japanese citizens. The game even goes as far as to show us that he potentially becomes president of the United States, and one of his main efforts is to strengthen the relations between the US and Japan. And I think this is propaganda. Roy is your typical popular jock and star quarterback, which you can see expressed in his moveset, but he also has some other moves that might look eerily familiar to you. All you have to do is hear him talk to realize that he's actually the lost Bogard brother. Now let me attempt to briefly explain why this character is scum. Where else but to start with his easy access to obnoxious pressure. Due to his jab being plus enough on block to pretty much loop into itself, he has a BMB that does like the most damage in the game through cheap ass setups. One of the most damaging supers and assists in the game, and OTGs for days. What's the counterplay? Simply hit them first or zone them out. You just better hope your character has the tools for that. Alright, back to the lore. After their freshman year was over, Bowman was the only member of the Pacific Trio to stay in Japan, with Roy traveling back to America alongside his loyal shorty, Tiffany. Tiffany is a kickboxing cheerleader, and yeah, I know, that's quite the design. Her Japanese isn't nearly as good as Roy or Bowman's, and a lot of the humor from that was sorta lost in translation when it comes to the subtitles for these games. Unfortunately, most of her character just boils down to being a Roy simp, even training to become his bodyguard just to make sure she can always be by his side. But she does have some genuinely touching moments when it comes to the trio's friendship. Finally, it's time to talk about Justice Academy. I mean, just look at what this school looks like. Need I say more? Hideo is one of the school's teachers, and although he's always walking around with his mean mugging look on his face, he's actually one of the good guys. He very much looks like a typical Japanese salaryman, probably stopping by at a bar to have a few drinks and play Virtua Fighter once his workday is over. But the best thing about this guy is that he's this game's true Shoto, almost as if Ryu was just poured into the game, with Akuma fireballs and zigzag dive kicks for added flair. And there's a reason for that. Hideo is actually a 9th dan master of karate, and was supposed to inherit his father's dojo after he passed away. But a huge family quarrel over who should get to keep the estate happened, and Hideo disheartenedly fled away from his home. Somehow, he ended up a teacher. A bit socially awkward, but that doesn't stop him from getting the balls to confess his feelings and propose to Kyoko, his fellow Justice Academy instructor. I don't even know how he bagged her. Was it the dive kick loops? Or the goofy shoulder pads that he doesn't ever take off even when he goes swimming? Whatever it is, I gotta get my game up. Kyoko is a school nurse and chemistry teacher. Kinda like how your PE teacher also taught social studies, but you don't know shit about history. Well, she was an orthopedic surgeon, so I'll give her that. She's undoubtedly top 2 alongside Roy, for basically the same reasons. Although her neutral can be more toxic thanks to her DP knee, she's not as consistent. Back then, her and Hideo were brainwashed into carrying out Justice High's dirty deeds, but since then have worked towards reforming the school into something more positive for the youth. And oh yeah, I completely forgot about Hayato. He's Taiyo High's PE teacher, and something of a mentor to Batsu. He's actually not even owned by Capcom, but instead the mangaka Kazuhiko Shimamoto. Udon even explained in the Capcom art book that they weren't allowed to draw him for legal reasons. Interesting. You know, rival schools is kinda like Darkstalkers in that people online usually care more about the characters in the game itself. But I'm here to show you why the gameplay is actually pretty fun and unique. So, what kind of fighting game is Project Justice? Well, despite being a relatively simple one, it's not so simple to classify. You would swear it's just a plain old 3D fighter from what you've seen, but I promise you, it plays much more like a 2D one. Cause let's take a look at the sidestep. You can step into the foreground or background to evade moves. Sounds standard, right? But unlike Tekken or Virtua Fighter or DOA, you can never be off axis from your opponent unless you're actively stepping a move. Otherwise, you two will automatically realign towards each other, like this. So there's a bit of third dimensional depth lost there. Furthermore, light attacks, aka the most quick and non-committal pokes in the game, will simply track your sidestep, so there's no balance between fast but linear and slow but wide. Keep in mind you can't cancel that sidestep into anything either. To put that into perspective, imagine how ass it would be if jabs will 100% of the time catch you out of your sidestep in Tekken, and those jabs will lead directly into a juggle that deletes half of your health. Suddenly, stepping in this game sounds a lot less appealing, huh? But while it might not be as integral, it still has its uses. Stepping at range is considerably safer and can be used to avoid projectiles or running attacks. Or if you're aware of a gap in the string, you can step that too. Stepping a move right before it's about to land rewards you by basically teleporting you behind the opponent for a significant advantage. To cap off movement, holding forward after a dash will turn it into a run, which will start up quickly and cover the distance of the entire screen in very little time. Something that's very much needed, unless you want to get perma-lamed out. From this run you can perform a mix-up, with your options being an overhead tackle, a leaping kick, or a low trip. You can also go into a roll, which will evade just as a step does. So now that we got that out the way, you might say, well, this shit's kinda like Marvel vs. Capcom, isn't it? With the team format and the sky-high combos that end with supers. Not really. Team synchronization isn't nearly as important as it is in your typical hyper fighter. You do get to choose 3 characters, but you only get to choose between rounds, similar to King of Fighters. And while this game does have assists, they're not nearly as free or flexible as the versus games. I'll explain how those work in just a bit. However, this game's combo system does have a magic series, which is known as a textbook combo. Your light attacks can typically combo into heavies, which can then combo into command normals, which can then either combo into a special, super, or a mini launcher. Should you choose a mini launcher, the same sequence follows, except you can choose between an air command normal, special, or super to finish it off. But mini launchers aren't the actual aerial raves this series is known for. Arrival launchers is where it's truly at. Usually these can't be comboed into unless they're one of the few special moves that lead into one, and are instead used as whiff or block punishers. The optimal stuff requires rather precise timing and some weird maneuvers to land, but these give you exponentially more freedom and actions than the mini launcher. You'll know you're doing it right when you've reached the heavens, and the skybox is just barely managing to keep up with his job. I'm not gonna lie bro, some of these are some janky ass looking air combos, but that's just part of the charm. What other fighting game are you gonna see them literally tweaking in mid-air like this? You can actually forego not finishing your combo or just changing the ender in favor of Oki, which can get pretty advanced as you learn the different tech options. So a quick example, you can air tech in this game right, and like 3 directions right. Well, if I read that in this situation, then I can chase your tech and air throw you once you do. But if you don't tech and I read that, then I can reset you for another combo. That's another thing, throws. This game is weird because there's both standing and low throws. Standing throws and back throws, not to complicate things, won't land on a crouching opponent and will leave you extremely vulnerable on whiff, while the low throw will land on the crouching opponent but whiff on the standing one. Because of this, the low throw kinda acts as a universal overhead, as actual decent ones aren't so easy to come by in this game. Air throws are instant and have no animation on whiff. Instead, a punch attack will come out, and you might see people use this as an option select. Now let's get into meter, which Project Justice is fairly generous with. It's called the Guts meter, and you can hold up to 5 bars at a time. You had the max amount of 9 in the OG rival schools, but that's also the game where literally everyone has practical infinites, so I wouldn't question that balancing adjustment. It's also worth keeping in mind that taunting fills the meter, so if your opponent does it to you, don't take it personally. You have your typical fighting game supers that use up 2 bars. Some of these are projectiles, some are B&B enders, some are rival launchers that can be comboed into, thank God for scaling, and some are downright useless. But something that is consistent across them all is the ridiculousness, and I love it, goddammit. The other way to spend meter is on your team up attacks, of course, aka the assists of this game. You call up your partner to perform a quirky little sequence which results in one of 3 things: damage to the opponent, guts meter charge, or replenish health. And unique to chairperson, she can fill up both guts and health. See, she's not that bad, at least not as a bench warmer. The startup and knockdown of these are dependent on the assist, so you can choose Roy if you want a safe one with stupid damage, or Edge if you want an ignorant plus on block one that gives favorable Oki. The startup of these also have super armor, so they're very good on reach to interrupt pressure. But you can be thrown out of it, so don't throw them out willy-nilly. These assists are just as if not more full of personality and charm as the supers, and they never get old to see. Remember though, your partner isn't just gonna sit back and watch you take that. You can attempt to break these by calling them out. Upon doing so, a sort of minigame begins, or rather sudden death, as the first opponent to get hit just once loses. You control your partner and they only have 5 seconds to save you by winning some tight-knit neutral, with some added dramatic commentary delivered by Ran and sometimes Hayato. This might seem kind of gimmicky or annoying, at least that's what I thought it would be, but it's actually pretty fun. Especially when both players are at low health and the assist is just enough to kill you. All of a sudden this game turns into Samurai Showdown 5, and by using all 5 bars of the meter, you can unleash the ultimate assist, known as the party up attack. Here you call out both teammates to deal 100 points of damage, and unlike the team up attacks, there's no breaking these. Talk about school spirit. And finally, I want to talk about the tardy counter. the defining mechanic of this game. You know what an alpha counter is, right? Sorry if you don't, but this is like that, except cooler and more like an actual parry. By inputting a command normal, special move, or a super move during block stun, you will simply cancel into it. You might be like, well that's stupid, but there's a catch to it. Tardy countering will always add 4 frames of startup to your desired attack, and should you get hit out of it, you'll take increased damage. You can't just try to tardy counter everything or you'll die, you know what I mean? You should be aware of the gap in whatever sequence you're trying to counter. Make sure your retaliation is quick enough to successfully interrupt it, and make sure you time it right. Knowing what strings or pressure you can and can't tardy counter fittingly comes from just doing your homework, whether that be labbing or just playing the game and taking mental notes. However, there's mind games to this. You can't just constantly tardy counter the same thing and problem solve forever. You can just as easily get baited into doing it. You can see how a lot of this game's depth and replayability comes from the singular mechanic, huh? It makes gaining matchup knowledge and making certain reads extremely rewarding, but countering it can be just as satisfying. The characters and system are very easy to pick up and play. If you walk by a Project Justice setup, I guarantee if you just sit down to try it, you'll be competent in like less than 30 minutes. Yet there's still enough to keep you invested long term, and there's a skill ceiling suitable for competitive play. From mastering the tardy counter, to learning the execution heavy optimal combos, or getting a hang of Oki mix-ups and the things they entail. So what do all these things boil down to when it comes to summarizing the gameplay of Project Justice? Well, as my man GGBHTG puts it, it's like
fast footsies, easy combos. As a fairly experienced player from the past few years, who's added a Dinger 70 to the English wiki of this game, I'd say that if you're a beginner, you should focus on just getting your combo strings to even come out, on hit, on block, or even on whiff. This ain't Marvel vs. Capcom, this is Children of the Atom. You can whiff hella normals out in the open as neutral, and if someone gets hit, it's their own fault. It's also extremely important to keep in mind that combos are extremely lenient, at least compared to stuff like Street Fighter, Darkstalkers, and sometimes Tekken. You have more time to visually confirm your combos compared to other games, particularly with your heavy attacks and command normals. So stop mashing. Do it right before you do it fast. This property, combined with the added bonus of every standard normal being cancelable into specials and supers, makes these flexible combos the primary reason that this game is easy to pick up and play. So if you can do combo, then congrats, you're an intermediate player now.
Now you can focus on the 2 main things you should keep in mind at any level.
Reading the mind of the opponent and thinking ahead of them. A complete mindset involves not getting hit for free, so simply block more. And once you encounter opponents doing that, simply throw more. If that seems a bit too obvious, here's an actual hint. Crouch block is pretty good, and air throw is really powerful, especially against living things. If you got a handle on all of that, well, there's no reason I shouldn't be seeing your name in tournament brackets. You're good to go, buddy. If you're expecting a bit more nuance to the combat, well, you'd be right. This is a Capcom fighter after all. There's plenty more to learn, and plenty more than I have time to explain. So start with the homework Juice gave you. Expand your mindset by investigating how your team can break through offense with tardy counters, maximize your damage from rifle launchers, and predict what they're gonna do after getting knocked down. Then try throwing out some sidesteps, or even armor from team supers once in a while. Although, since Tekken is our main game, I wouldn't mind if you got some whiff punishes in there too. But if you want your advice to be a bit more character specific, check out the character pages on Super Combo Wiki. And if you need a bit of direct guidance, check out the Project Justice Discord. They'd love to have anybody around that's willing to give the strategy behind this charming game the time of day. Their top players, commentators, and sometimes me, can answer any question you got. About the game anyway. We don't do psychology, please seek professional mental health more often than your dentist. Just imagine your therapist is Kyoko, or Hayato, or Hideo. Hey, I met Hideo, and he's got some pretty cool
What's funny about this game is that just like a real school environment, the teachers are the top tiers. They're unfuckwittable, well except for the rich privileged kid with big shot parents. Now with all that being said, don't be that guy, don't be a bitch. Not at the collection drop. Don't only pick a team consisting of Roy, Kyoko, and Hideo. You're gonna scare people away from this game, you're gonna kill the queue, and we're gonna end up not getting Rival Schools 3 because of you. And now, the story. I left this part last in case you want to experience it for yourself. And if you do, well then it's time to bounce, my friend. Thank you for watching this far. Sincerely. But if you still want to stick around, then let's get to it. It's been 1 year since the events of rival schools, so Batsu and his buddies are sophomores now. The story kicks off at an athletic event between Taiyo and Pacific High, which ended up being cancelled early due to some troublemakers. The Taiyo trio decide to investigate the matter, but end up being stopped by some mysterious white guy who somehow knows Batsu and Kyosuke's names. And who did he bring along? Why, that'd be that man Daigo Kazama. Although one could easily mistake him for a rabid dog, the way he's traded his vocabulary for a slew of growls. People can't seem to tell, but turns out he's under mind control, even though that already happened in the first game. Holy shit, this dude is so easy to brainwash. How are you a gang leader and have the mental fortitude of a guppy? After a brief squabble, the mysterious dude flees with Daigo, but not before leaving the boys with some ominous threats relating to their family name. They continue their investigation, and in doing so run into the Seijyun girls. Batsu attempts to warn Akira about her brother, but is quickly interrupted by them, claiming that Batsu assaulted them earlier, much to his confusion. But that's not the case. Batsu is an upstanding young man, and would never do such a thing. And it sucks since he's always been misjudged as some violent delinquent when he's literally the one keeping people safe out here. Too bad this is a fighting game, so there's no defending yourself by words. It's all settled by fists. Batsu just takes a beating, and they proceed to talk down on him for it. The standout being a pretty harsh comment by Akira that crushes his ego, saying that she was actually mistaken, cause there's no way the real Batsu would be this weak. Damn. He's all like, oh man, can't believe I just embarrassed myself in front of those chicks. And Kyosuke's like, whatever dude, shit happens. And then he just runs away, like the wind. Much to Hinata's concern. But Kyosuke understands when the man is going through some shit, you just kinda have to disappear, and be a little mysterious, isolate and self-reflect, go off the radar. It'll be alright. Now before you dare call him out for running off like a bitch, you better put yourself in his shoes. Because of this imposter, he's even getting framed as a stalker by some. Ryu ain't never had to struggle with his reputation like this. Just saying. I also just want to point out how dark and suspenseful these instrumentals sound during the confrontations. It really does feel like an interrogation, and paranoia spreads around as you don't even know who to trust. Remember, this takes place in the Street Fighter universe, where people can shape, shift, and shit. I don't even know how folks go to sleep. The stories overlap, so sometimes people from other schools will butt in and tell their events from their playthroughs. Sometimes too many. Like bro, fuck off. This aspect ratio can only support so many of us at a time. They run into Shoma and Momo back on campus, who have their own little subplot going on, and like I said, this and a lot of other things are experienced in the stories of the different schools. It seems that everyone at this point thinks Batsu is some creep or something, but Kyosuke, Hinata, and out of nowhere, Chairperson, are hell-bent on proving their dear friend's innocence. Turns out Momo ain't exactly who she's led on to be. She's the one who started those defaming claims about Batsu. The little rascal has been manipulating Shoma's simping ass into causing even more ruckus between everybody. They head into their homeroom, where they're immediately shocked to find someone who looks just like Batsu, but not quite. It's an imposter, dubbed Vatsu, and he's folded Hayato like a goddamn omelet. Well, there's no time to waste. Let's kill the son of a bitch. You know, something that's really missing from this game in comparison to the last one is the voice acting. Scenes like this just don't hit the same. So I've taken the duty of directing a dub for it myself.
See what happens when you try to defy me. Used to leave it to amateurs.
Hinata! Oh, my body.
However, I can't let you be destroyed yet. I still need you to work. Work for me.
Why would I work for you? You think that just by beating me in a fight, you suddenly have total control over me?
I'm impressed by your boldness, but you really should learn to be more careful with yourself. You can easily be replaced.
Stop it. Let her go.
Batsu! Batsu! Batsu!
Behold, my new special move, Super Guts Bullet!
What? But this move is... you!
Batsu!
Sorry to kept you waiting, guys. I'll take it from here.
That was too flashy of an entrance for a loser like you!
I'm gonna personally thank you for making me your scapegoat. Where's your buddy Daigo, huh? Doubt you could do anything without his help. Faker!
I think you need to be taught a lesson in respect!
I didn't pay any of them, by the way. But yeah, that's right. Batsu pulled off the ultimate shonen protagonist move and went on the whole training arc in the span of only a few hours. Or so he says, I mean. Literally nothing changed except that he took off his shirt and gained a little scar on his forehead. Okay, well he did get some sweet new special moves, a Kamehameha, and better combo damage. Unfortunately, this now makes regular Batsu irrelevant in competitive play, but it was a necessary sacrifice in order to take down his doppelganger. After a fierce battle, Batsu's pussy ass flees the scene. But there's no time to worry about that right now, as Hinata and Kyosuke are just glad to see that Batsu is back. After a quick pep talk from Hayato and Cher, they go looking for the imposter so they can put a foot up his ass or something. Which leads them to this mountain area near Justice High, where they find the imposter, Momo, and Yurika all posted up together waiting for them. Figuring that there's no point in disguising himself anymore, he reveals his true form, which is just that weird guy from the beginning named Kuro. He also presents themselves as the Dark Side Students Congress. This dude is like so emo, it's laughable, and you can tell from Yurika's face that her brother is the only one who thought that was a cool name. If you're wondering what Yurika is doing here, there's a ton of context missing from the Seijyun route. Like I said, subplots and shit. Of course, no one is taken aback by this revelation, and Kuro exclaims that his goal is to terminate the Imawano family, having already defeated Raizo and brainwashed Hio. Man, this is fucking stupid. Like, I get that brainwashing is a major thing in this world, but I'm just sick of it at this point. Anyways, he demands Hio to dispose of them immediately, but silence. Hio simply refuses with a stern look on his face, stating that he was just pretending to be under mind control this entire time. Remember, this is the big baddie of the last game, who carried out a nationwide conspiracy, and the only person who could even stop him was his own brother. Kuro can't believe it. He's making that exact same expression you make when you touch up on your pockets and realize that either your phone, keys, or wallet is missing. Fuck it, he'll do it himself. And man, Aki from Street Fighter 6 really reminds me of this guy. I mean, they both got the huge sharp claws, purple thing going on, snakeskin outfits with the same color scheme, wacky white hair and whatever. There's just gotta be something more to that, is what I'm trying to say. Kuro and his backup dancers lose the fight, and I just love how Hio is still going in on this man, calling him a fool, a loser, an imbecile. As implied by Hio, Kuro is an assassin sent here by the Dark Side Society leaders, because they felt that Batsu and Kyosuke's side of the family had become too soft and needed to be cut off from the ninja clan. Everyone here has been pretty serious about the whole situation. Meanwhile, Hinata has just been saying shit like, wow, that's so mean. She's too pure for this world. As always, Hio is standing on business, and apparently he also has a history of getting in Kuro's way. Kuro's had enough, and decides to finally put an end to this Timu Sephiroth. But Kuro must have forgot that unlike all these other goobers he's been beefing with, Hio is actually with the shits. He's not carrying around some stupid baseball bat, or a kendo stick, or a violin bow. He's wielding the whole ass katana, and he's more than willing to use it. Which he does. Hio then flees onto the stairways of Justice High, where all of a sudden something has overtaken him, as if he's being possessed by some powerful evil force. Which yeah, he actually is. Raizo explains that Mugen, his brother, and Kyosuke and Hio's his father, has awakened and taken control of his son's psyche out of pure hatred. Hio then begs Kyosuke to put a stop to him before it's too late. Kyosuke is reluctant to fight his brother again, but understands what must be done. Basically, they beat the devil out of him. But unfortunately, Hio's mind and body cannot handle the extreme stress it was put under, and in his dying breath pleads Kyosuke to leave this dastardly life behind, start anew with his friends, one that he can truly enjoy. That's right, Hio is dead. The fuck, Ran? Did you seriously take a picture of that moment and publish it in the school paper? She felt remorse for it, but still, I know she's probably out there cloud chasing nowadays. Kyosuke disappeared after the incident, and everyone at school is worried since no one has heard of him since. Batsu though, he trusts that he's fine, cause he already knows the deal. When the man goes through some shit, well, you get it. And so they place faith in their friend, patiently awaiting his return, knowing that he will return someday. And credits roll. And here's Chairperson demonstrating her shitty ass karate, a la Tekken Nambu or Soul Calibur weapon demo. Initially, I was gonna include a whole part diving into a Japanese exclusive board game. That was included because of the whole party game craze from around this time. I actually did play it for a while, and it has some pretty interesting and unique mechanics. But man, fuck that, I gotta put this video out and move on with my life already. All you gotta know is that my dude was high-key ass, yet I still somehow managed to win the school festival tournament. Considering that the events of rival schools and Project Justice take place during the Alpha era, I think it would be pretty cool to see an older Batsu or Kyosuke show up in Street Fighter 6. Recently they made a rival schools themed battle pass that includes Akira's helmet and Hinata's dance, but man, don't nobody give a fuck about that. You know what, forget a rival schools character, we need Skullomania in there. I love rival schools, and revisiting this game's ending with Kyosuke's departure makes me pretty sad considering that's probably the series resolution we're forever stuck with. Or even get to see some of these characters again, outside of a pity cameo, or the lucky few like Akira who can make a playable appearance in another Capcom fighter. I'd love to be wrong, but I'm not holding out on another installment. I really don't think it's gonna happen. Itsuno leaving the company is only one thing going against it. And besides, I'm a fan of way too many dead gaming franchises to keep my hopes up like that. That shit only makes it hurt even more. But anyways, I won't drag the outro. Huge thanks to GGBHTG for helping me understand this game, and helping me with the gameplay section. I couldn't have done it without you, brother. And thanks to the talents who lent me their voices, so I could include that silly ass dub. It was pretty fun. And thank you for watching all that shit. Peace.